Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special post-holiday edition of Hotline League. It's gonna be a fun one because we're gonna do a bunch of open calls. We're gonna hear all sorts of interesting stuff from all of you tonight. But it's also gonna be fun because of the folks that I will be having these conversations with. Not just all of you, but also Cubby, as always. Cubby, how's it going?
Doing well. Good to be back after the holiday and have some Hotline League to look forward to.
Yeah, you are, as we were just discussing, you're showing your youth right now, I feel like, with the short hair and the jersey. It's just a very different vibe for you.
Yeah, I even the jerseys are retro jerseys, so we're going back to better days for all of us here, Travis. Yeah,
That's so true. Honestly, wait, what year was that CLG jersey? It was like 2019 or something?
No, it was the spring before they got acquired by NRG, so they ended up going to win.
So, so more recent. So 20.
It's a great jersey right now. I have that jersey too. I can just change.
Yeah.
Was that jersey last year then? So it was spring of last year?
Probably.
Yeah, no, it was not spring of 23. It would have been 22 because it was sent to me and I got it in Illinois.
Okay.
But yeah.
All right. Well, I think yes. Spring of 22 was pretty bad for me actually. So not better times. All right. Joining us as always is Raz. Also as always, because he's always here, I can't get rid of him. Raz, how are you doing?
You say this, but I've been ducking and dodging you for the past 2 weeks, Travis.
This guy just constantly is trying to get on the show. I was literally this weekend, I was at a Friendsgiving, and he's just there stalking me, begging me to come on the show.
Down. He's the one tracking me down. I said no twice, and he was like, "Oh, you're going to Thanksgiving. I'm going to the same one."
He demanded.
So what about that?
He demanded that I give him a ride home, and then he left a bribe of beer in the car.
I just forgot to take the beer home.
An entire
I think
six
that's respectful, actually.
It was an open. Like the cans were all sealed. First off, lawyers. Secondly, but the packaging had been opened for the 6-pack. But it was Mango Cart, which is actually one of my favorite beers. So
very tasty.
Yeah,
there we go.
It was good. So now, anyway, Raz is here, of course. Shout out to SZXT for sponsoring this episode. Also, we have a really cool sponsor that we're going to be talking about later on in the episode, none other than Corepunk, which is really cool, a video game that is now hitting early access. We're going to be looking at the trailer on it later on with Cubby and I. We're going to be looking at this. It's a new isometric MMORPG with MOBA style combat. So folks can take a look at that as we get into it later in the episode. But yeah, how were both of your holidays?
Mine was nice. I was remote set up last week as I went home. And yeah, we had a lot of food. There was a toddler, a cat, and a dog at my Thanksgiving, and saw 4 out of my 5 cousins. So it was nice to get some good food and see the family. And it's also was my mom's birthday that week, so went out for dinner a couple times. And yeah, my family just likes to have good food when we're around. So it's always lucky me and always fun to go home.
Plus the birthday, you're just maximizing celebrations.
Yeah, it kind of works out nice. I get to 2 for 1 the trip home. More reason to go home too, so that's good.
Perfect.
Save on the flight. I see Revenge is in the chat. Revenge can show up in my Twitch chat, but can't show up in my inbox to invite me to his going away party in Los Angeles. I have to find out about it when my roommate comes home. So just kind of interesting how that worked out, you know?
Yeah. Oh, wait. He's thinking about the excuses right now. He's like, okay, what maybe it got lost in the mail.
Yeah, he's going to be like, it was my responsibility to get you there. That's a good out you got there, Mo. Yeah.
I gave the invite to Cubby. Maybe he didn't give you the message.
On one lonely, sad night months ago, my roommate came in, Kobe, and he said, "Oh man, that was sick. I was at Revenge's going away party. It was wild." And now Revenge is only cutting the knife even deeper. He says like 100+ people showed up. So it's not like this was some small thing.
I saw Darshan there. We had a good chat, you know? Just vibing. It's good times. I think I won beer pong too. I did. Cubby, I think I beat your ass in beer pong. I'm pretty sure.
No, I only played the other game that was going on.
I forgot who it was.
I wasn't cool enough to get on that table.
Wow,
yeah,
you guys sounds like you had such a good time.
It was. It was actually a really good time. Yeah.
And my winning shot, I was like, This is for Travis. Kobe.
Okay, whatever. Anyway,
Travis never misses.
it's fine. I now understand that revenge was only pretending to be my friend so he could get interviews when he was on Immortals, and now the truth has been revealed. Anyway, Raz, how did you spend the holiday break?
Well, I had a great, Friendsgiving. I decided to bring one of my specialty dishes, a pie, actually, if you were wondering.
Let me read this message. Where is it? This group chat.
I don't know what you're talking about. I brought a fabulous pie.
Group chat on November 23rd. Hey, everyone. Please let us know what you'd like to bring, Bobra. That was on the 23rd. And then multiple days later, I think it was, odd. 5 days later, Raz replies to the group chat. I not comfortable at the moment cooking for other people, so I probably won't bring food. But let me know if there's anything you'd like, beer or seltzers.
True. You can't look. That was not a pie you made, Travis.
I brought an apple pan pie. It was a $40 pie
from Costco.
No, from Apple Pan, the artisanal restaurant that's been open for 80 years in Los Angeles and is still in the same location. And you didn't have any because you left before, but
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I
told explicitly it was really good.
I thought real hard. I was like, okay, I've got the mango cart as you mentioned. I also had what was it, Jack and Coke. Let's just say someone was allergic to mangoes. So my beer wasn't actually the most universal product for the class. So I came in and mooched. That was my goal.
Honestly, that's strategic, Raz. It just so happens that someone has an allergy to what you brought, so then you get to bring more home. So
I just want people to hear that this is the approach that Raz takes to parties, and yet for some reason he gets invited to parties and I do not. So it's an interesting turn of events there.
Feels good, doesn't it, Travis?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Doesn't it?
Yesterday I did a white elephant with some with the Magic group, which was fun. Cubby made it to the Chaos draft that we did afterwards, and that was it was a nice relaxing weekend. The crazy thing is tomorrow I fly to Salt Lake City to go to Dragonsteel Nexus, which is Brandon Sanderson's event. Hoping to do an interview with him there. I just am finishing my reread of Rhythm of War, so that's really cool. And then on Friday night I fly from Salt Lake to Houston for the Laughing Dragon Magic the Gathering event that's happening in Houston. And then next week's episode, if we're doing one, which I'm pretty sure we will take place I'll be in Austin. So yeah, kind of all over the place, but a lot of travel coming up.
Elias is in the chat. Mr. Turkey Man himself. Incredible turkey, by the way, Elias. Fantastic turkey.
I ate the ham.
The hospitality was amazing.
The ham was good. All right, let's talk about League of Legends esports. As little as there is to talk about this week, we are gonna do some open lines of conversation for all of you if you want to call in. But then also
roster changes.
Yeah, there's been some roster changes, some roster announcements, and some tier 2 stuff. Cubby, what's been going on in tier 2?
Yeah, so they announced 7 out of the 10 teams that are going to be in NACL for this upcoming year. 3 teams will have to qualify through an OQ they're going to do, as it won't start until March. And yeah, Luminosity Gaming is a new brand that's actually going to be in the space. I can't remember the last time they were in the space. I think it was when LS was working with them way back when. But yeah, that's news. No, actually, no. He was Tempo Storm. Sorry.
Yeah,
Tempo color scheme. Yeah, that was similar. Anyway, it was. That's going to be interesting. Most of the roster, it's been reported that it's going to be most of the Shopify Rebellion crew. So Zazel, Insanity, Tactical, Tomio, Fake God, and coached by Deos, who's someone around that's been coaching for a long time in collegiate and tier 2. So that's going to be a really competitive roster that's going to be already in tier 2, competing for the tier 1 spot at the end of the year.
When did they make that announcement? Actually,
it wasn't announced. Just the teams that were in. They snuck it into a post. It was the other week. I don't think we've talked about it on here, but yeah, there's really not much tier 1 news. Yeah, it's pretty quiet. News is pretty quiet this week.
I guess the only one that I've seen is yeah, you are right. It would be the tier 2 one. Also disguised, I guess.
Do you guys think that Luminosity is doing this because they're like, are they choosing to do this now because there's a chance for them to promote into the league?
Absolutely, Travis. You already know. Like, this is the classic Gold Coin United or C9 Challenger or E United tactic where you're just like, you are stacking money. It's not supposed to be financially responsible. It's for a year. If you make it, great. If you don't, awful. We lost money. It's like that. Yeah, it happens in the past, and it's kind of crazy that we're back to the same thing. But at least we're not randomly importing like Mad Life and Dandy to do it. So
Yeah.
Oh my god. That's a throwback. Or the whole LMQ thing, right?
Yeah.
Zhao Wei
Or
Zhao,
Quantic, but Quantic couldn't even get to the damn qualifier. The one with Apple, Gunza, Loco Doco, and stuff.
Oh,
I was
dude.
like,
The tier 2 memories are so good. What was it? Team Ember? Team
Yep.
Ember, who
That's Golden Glue?
publicized all their they publicized all their salaries. After I was after I made a video saying salaries should be public, they're like, we agree and we just are going to do it. And then they immediately got flamed for paying people like more than LCS players. And then they just clustered out.
They were the team that were late for scrims once because they were meditating. I was like, oh, I've never heard that one before. Actually, I prefer that reason than any other ones, which are like, yeah, the player is still asleep. Yeah, that one's a better excuse.
It's funny because the rumor mill is like what they're saying is that the reason why Luminosity's roster was already reported on is because they're paying a lot more than the market. I mean, these players are good; they deserve it. But yeah, I think it's going to be closer to California minimums, or some might be California minimums instead of just X amount of dollars a month, which is what most NACL players get. So that's going to be quite interesting to see if that affects the rest of the market coming up here.
Yeah. Wait, the other thing that got announced, I think, this past week was the Team Liquid FlyQuest dodge, right?
They're just back and then TL out of the coach?
No, I was talking about tier... Cubby, I don't know if you know this. There's a secondary system called Tier 2. And I'm really tuned into Tier 2. I know you aren't. But both FlyQuest and Team Liquid previously had Tier 2 rosters. And they were the only remaining teams from the LCS that did it. And they announced that they're not going to do it anymore because they don't think they can get top tier talent, which I personally think is just the world's greatest excuse for a budget cut I've ever heard.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about that a little bit because they, like, them being in the league, they did have first dibs on whatever talent they wanted. Like, Masu wasn't going anywhere else besides FlyQuest or TL, right? So with the changes being made, the fact that if they were to win the league and then they were to promote, that they just wouldn't get in, you're going to have players that do not select to play for them. So, like, fielding a team of 5, in a sense, isn't the best for them. Yes, it is an excuse to cut budget, but there are other ways where they can hopefully work with players. And I know that they're exploring it a little bit as to what they can do to still get their hands on talent. And I hope they follow through with that, unlike all the other teams that dropped out of NACL and then didn't do anything to help out with talent afterwards. So
I realize in the camp of, oh, you go first.
I was just going to say two things. One, for those that are unaware, the whole argument that both teams made was, hey, our teams cannot promote into the league because we're already here, so we're banned from winning the promotion tournament and winning the spot. But two, that means that we're not going to be able to get players to come play for us because players will want to play for teams that can promote. The other thing I should mention is, by the way, we are looking for takes on everything, so please put your takes into the pleb calls and sub calls chat. We don't need to do the spiel this week because if you're paying attention to Hotline League on a night like this, then or on a week like this, then you already know the deal. But please go fill up those topic chats because we need to pull folks for this evening. Sorry, Raz, what were you going to say about the topic?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I'll just mention is like the UG news is something you can always bring back up. That's number one. Because it only got worse for him. And this is the most confusing thing. I can rant on that one. It's the most.
Wait, go ahead and rant on it, Raz. What's the
Okay.
deal?
I'll go into the other take afterwards, but I'll go into the Yuji thing. So like basically Yuji could have been on Rogue, but he couldn't get a visa, and apparently the visa would have taken like a year or something for him to get it, because obviously even though he is tagged to be a part of EMEA, he is Mongolian, which is in East Asia.
Oh,
He
right,
just doesn't
right.
have a region. Like,
He doesn't
it's
have a
tragic.
region.
Yeah.
It's the wildest shit. So even though like he got fucked earlier on because he thought that he would be an NA resident, agency shit. Unfortunately, his agency was not great. And then he goes into the next part is like, I guess I'm a part of EMEA as Mongolian. So then for a player like him, he already I've heard had offers in ERLs
He
and
did.
everything.
Yeah.
But he had passed that down thinking that he was going to be an NA resident. That was not true. And then now he actually had an offer and he was going to get it. I'm sure he was going to get it with Rogue, but now he has to deal with visa shit because someone who's like born and worked, like I'm not sure if he's born there, but like who is from Mongolia has to somehow get a visa for Europe. I don't know, man. That's the most confusing shit I've ever heard, and it pisses me off. So
Yeah,
I'll put that aside.
It sucks. I mean, the most valuable prospects that have promoted to LCS within 2 years, the three of them have all won LCS and made top 8 of Worlds, which is pretty like funny to think about in terms of Dokla, Masu, and Busio. And the criteria for what we set it for is who do we think is the best player 2 years out from now when we hand them that award. Yuji was the first person to go back to back. He's always been in contention like for the award. He's always kind of been an honorable mention. Had the 2 splits where he was very deserving of it, especially this past summer. I voted for Surdy in spring. Yuji was my vote summer. And yeah, it's just really sad to see that circumstances are going to fuck him out of spots where teams were really interested in this player from Europe, from NA. He would have been in LCS, could have potentially been in LEC, had other offers to really save him from there. And he's just going to be stuck, really just a victim of circumstances of where he's from. It sucks. There's nothing good to say about it. It just sucks.
Yeah. And on the point that we made mention on, which is like FlyQuest and Team Liquid no longer being a part of it. You mentioned that it was because they weren't going to be able to get the strongest talent. I say this for, like I said this for a lot of LCS teams prior when they had made the same decision. You can even make the same case for like the LPL English going down. By the way, the best way to leverage large contracts and diminishing those contracts is having somebody that's underneath them, training them to be in the position in off season. So you could have someone or like a team, give them the resources. If you have a team with impact, you might want to like have a developmental coach and have them have constant VODs with like, just looking over the actual main team's games like they already can, and like build them up to be something that is worthwhile. And like maybe they can challenge an ongoing contract that is, I'm not saying it's $1 million anymore, but it's going to be something larger. So it's just wild to me. If we're talking about money, I'm sure you'll save a lot of money by having alternatives that will challenge that internally. But I don't know. It worked for Evil Geniuses, I'll say that right now, but obviously that organization went boom, so maybe it didn't.
All right. Well, so we are going to have just a general conversation about a lot of this stuff, but if folks have, for instance, a thing they've been wanting to talk about on the show for a while, but news has kept us on other topics or other focuses, please, now's a good time to call in. We're looking for just all sorts of different conversations all over the place. So I know Arcane has been dominating the news in the league space for a bit, but I think there's a lot of cool things that folks have been thinking about and talking about for a while that would be a good time to come into the show. So, Cubby, do you want to go grab the first caller?
Yeah, we got first one's a fun one too. So
Okay, cool.
We're gonna dive into that.
I'm excited. Thank you to Cart Mister, Ojai Vega, Max Revive, Yeshua, Hust Bust, America Vespucci, Glimmer Glen, PP Doc. Oh, PP Doc reset for 3 months, but 20 months. It's so confusing sometimes. Twitch used to do this thing where it would tell you how many months people are subscribing for. X Adam X, thank you for the Prime. And then over on YouTube, nothing so far. But I'm sure the YouTube viewers are having a good time, and they're gonna bless us with a super chat soon, because they're always popping over there. Never a more active chat than the YouTube chat. I'm just kidding. All right. We got our first caller of the night, which is none other than Matt Sucks, who I believe subbed yesterday randomly in the middle of the day. Is that true, Matt? Did you send a prime to my channel?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Wait, I wasn't worried about it. I was appreciating it.
Who's
Yeah.
Matt?
Me?
Yeah.
Wait, then what you're saying you suck?
Yeah.
Hey, we need to change that name, Matt.
Matt, where are you calling from?
Indianapolis.
Indianapolis. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, so I posted on the r/League of Legends Reddit. I reached out to every team in the LTA North by email, and then I followed up by Discord, email, Twitter, Facebook. A couple of teams were a little bit more difficult to get a hold of, and I asked them a couple of questions, told them a little bit about me. I'm a TSM homeless person who was in denial this past year, wanting a new team to support. The three questions that I asked were, why should I be a fan of your organization? Why should I support your team sponsors? And what makes your org special? And so I'm here to talk about that and whatever other questions you guys might have. Something that really was difficult was getting a hold of Lions. I think it's just Lion. There's no S or Z, I think. But because they don't speak English as their first language, and they're still merging things, so that was really interesting. But once I got a hold of him, he was really a sweetheart, honestly.
Yeah, so I've gone ahead and pulled it up on screen right now. This is, we should say, this is something that people have been doing. I feel like usually once a year or every couple of years. I'm sure you've seen the original one many years ago. I remember it.
I actually didn't see it, but I saw your favorite 100 Thieves fan post something on Twitter about it, and decided to just go from there.
Gotcha. Yeah, there used to be, somebody had done this a long time ago, and it was interesting to see who replied and who didn't. And it looks like you got, it's fun. I'm sorry to say that I've been kind of running around today, so I haven't seen this post until just today. But I see, or sorry, until just now. But it looks like you posted it earlier today, so it's up on the subreddit, and I'll link it in. Oh, it looks like Cubby's already got it. I'll link it on YouTube though. But it looks like you got a reply from everyone. How long did it take to get replies?
Yeah, so a couple of teams replied right away. You know, Cloud9, pretty much the teams that you would expect to that have that extra money to pay people to be full-time marketing managers. Joseph Jang from what I don't know, from 100 Thieves, he replied immediately. Like I said, Lion was really difficult to get a hold of. I actually reached out to them on my Facebook page with my my personal page, but I think they deserve a lot of grace just because of how much they have to go through with their transition. Dig was a little bit more difficult to get a hold of, as well as Shopify, mostly because they have one primary email address, and a lot of the teams you have to search for it, which I get that the community is relatively toxic just kind of in general. So but kind of interesting that I really hope this is a work cell phone number, but I censored it out of the picture. But he actually, Dodo put his cell phone number in there.
I'm sure it's just a standard signature, because a lot of you can set these signatures
right?
in the back. Yeah. Well, good on you for censoring it. I'm glad that you did, because I wouldn't have noticed that whenever I was pulling all these screenshots up.
Funny as hell.
Don't want to dox Dodo. Okay. So yeah,
sorry,
you said it took a little bit, but like,
when
just out of curiosity, when did you send these emails? It looks like you sent them on November 8th.
Yep, that was the first time that I sent the email. A week later, I sent a follow-up to each of the teams that didn't respond. And I tried to send the follow-up email to someone else, a different email address.
Yeah.
So the first email to TL, for example, went to Steve. The second one went to Dodo, and as you can see, he said, thanks for reaching out. and gave a lot more context. And I kind of, again, I wanted to give a lot of grace. It's something that I actually talked about with my buddy that I have a question about for you guys, is whether or not you think the teams are or should be obligated to respond and answer these kinds of questions.
Okay, so I think one, it's very difficult for everybody to, like, all the teams to be expected to write, because you can't send a like small email response to this, and because if if it does get posted somewhere, it looks not great when everybody else is going pretty hard on it. But
Yeah.
I think, here's what I will say. I think teams should answer these questions for their audience. Whether or not individualized emails are the best option for that, I think, is another question, especially during like this holiday time and all that stuff. But I do think that somewhere, either in like Reddit AMAs or in interviews or this type of thing, fans or the teams should be able to talk to fans and answer questions around like why you should support us, why you should root for us, why you should care about our sponsors, that type of stuff. So I and like what makes your org special, I see, is your third question. So yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool, and it looks like, just kind of, obviously I'm hosting the show, so I can't read everything here, but it looks like all the replies are pretty thorough
thoughtful
and nice.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious if orgs feel like they have to get back, because this is something that does pop up throughout the year. I do think that it's also a unique way to reach folks. So, and you were persistent about it. So I feel like if you are persistent, then there is more reason to actually get back. I mean, I think that if you are an org, you should be, there's obviously business and things you have to take care of, but ultimately you are in service to your fans. The fans are the ones that still make, wheels go round and keep everything running. So the fact that you did have orgs get back to you is cool. I would say I kind of agree with Travis, where we should know the answers to some of these questions, and I feel like we don't. And that's something where teams can get better at selling themselves to fans, because the ones that do that the best are likely the ones that will have more fans.
So I got a question for you, Cubby.
Yeah.
Who should he be a fan of?
Ooh.
Like, what is an organization right now that's positioned themselves in a way that makes it easier to like have?
Yeah, could be looking at
around
all these emails that are screenshotted here. Do you think any of them stand out from the others? Do you think that any of the replies are particularly good, or do you think they all equally are from talented individuals or of similar talent?
Well, one, I actually have to shout out the one from FlyQuest, just because it mentioned NZXT sponsor.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
Which actually works on the sponsor of this show too. So anyway,
yes. All right. Good dodge there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say, just based off of like, if we're just talking about a team that does a really good job in terms of outreach, God, Cloud9 is always a banger. They also have Sven, Vulcan, and Blabber. Like, I think those three players do a great job in carrying the fandom. And they're always like really open and honest. Sven specifically is actually probably the best pickup. And with social media stuff, they're probably the account that's the most playful with like people responding to them. So in terms of fandom, it's usually easiest to like latch on to Cloud9. And they have the players. So I feel like that would probably be my answer.
Yeah, I laughed out loud when I read the response. We know how hard it is to be a TSM fan.
Yeah, that was the C9
painful
first line from C9.
Yes.
There it is. That's
they should have mentioned the championships, especially in like XY years when they took them down too. That would have been fun.
I think if I was just like an outright fan coming in at the moment, I already mentioned Cloud9. Shopify seems really interesting to me. You have Fudge, Contract, Palafox, like those three players I think are pretty fun, and they're like a dark horse kind of, if you don't want to be a bandwagoner.
So I'm speaking about this from purely just being a League fan.
Yeah,
I don't really consume esports outside of League, except I need to escape work,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think Shopify as an org, I know Travis is going to share this sentiment with me, they haven't done a ton of really cool stuff in this space yet. And I don't find them to be super interesting, even if I actually find their roster for next year to be somewhat interesting build, one that a lot of fans are hopeful can be competitive for maybe pushing TL and FlyQuest out of the world slots as we go further and further throughout the year. But
Also,
yeah, I
you
don't
go.
I don't know why. I feel like they haven't done a great job of selling themselves yet to the fan base.
What makes it hard is because I follow them on okay, I don't follow them on Twitter, but I follow them on Blue Sky as well. I used to follow them on Twitter. Problem is, they don't have like a dedicated account for League.
Yeah.
And they're a multi-gaming organization similar to Dignitas. But Dig, I'm pretty sure, has a League-specific account. And the problem for that is, like, I do not care what happens to your Rocket League team or this or that. Like, I just don't care. Oh, I see Valorant. I don't care. I don't want that on my timeline. So that makes it difficult for you to latch on to them as a team in the scene.
Yeah.
For sure.
I honestly, if I was a League fan these days, I would just be like, God, which teams are still going to be here next year? You know, and I don't say that because like I think all these teams are going to leave, but there's so much volatility in the LTA or LCS, whatever you want to call it, like lineup, where so many people become a fan of NRG and then they're gone, or so many people become a fan of EG or all, and I think it is, you know, it's funny because for a long time I beat the drum of like, oh, our players boomerang in and out of the league so often that how could you become a fan of any of them? Now I feel like, you know, it's almost as big of an issue in trying to become a fan of some of these other teams. And I don't like, I'm excited about the promotion relegation stuff, but it's only going to make it in a way more tough, right? Where you have at least one team that is very likely to be in a situation where they're headed out every year. So, I I mean, I look at C9 and TL, and I'm like, those are the safe refuges. It's a safe refuge for a fan. I think FlyQuest is probably pretty secure too, but those are maybe the most likely places where you can go and be, you know, confident that your team is going to be here a year later. I don't know. Let's get back to the topic though, Matt. You know, what of these answers, which team had the answers that you appreciated the most?
Who won your heart over?
Yeah,
This is hotline love for orgs.
for teams,
You know,
yes.
True.
don't ignore Travis being so grim.
Yeah, so when I was thinking about why I was a TSM fan in the beginning, it was Bjergsen. You know, the team was centered around him. You know, he was the key figure that brought eyes for such a long time. You'll forget about all the stuff that happened when he left and all of the other TSM stuff. But it was Bjergsen, and I think that the same can be true for Disguised. The other thing that I really appreciate about Disguised is their transparency after TSM just lied to people, basically
Yeah.
saying they're going to another region and all of these things, and there's supposed to be some big announcement like last or the December before last, and then
I
it was in
remember that. Yeah, there's
January.
always the big announcement's going to be later. The big announcement's going to be later. That was always the best.
Oh yeah, in 3
Where
months. Oh, by the end of the year. Oh, it's coming,
right.
please. Oh, the person who said that is actually laid off. Oh, wait a minute.
And then the on the flip side, Disguised has their like all of their salaries and financials publicly available at a fixed cost every month. Not to mention the fight to stay alive just would bring so much emotion. So I think that's I'm gonna order some Disguised merch after I leave the call, but I do have a backup team just in case because you know they might not have a choice in whether they are here. The org might not have a choice whether they're here or not at the end, and that's TL. TL mentioned transparency, always trying to do what's right. I care about sponsors. You know, I have a TSM Vertigear chair that I bought like 5 years ago. That was $600. I want to support the team. I want to support the team not just in league but also their content creators, and they obviously are great with content, with APA, and I also really appreciate I have the general manager's cell phone number, so
Have you called him yet?
I haven't. No.
You just give him a ring. Hey man, you guys just lost, and I know that in the email you said that you care about winning. So what's up with that? What are you doing for next week?
Hey, are you guys going to go after double lift or not? It might help your team a lot.
Hey,
You know?
hey,
Right,
it's Matt
exactly.
here. We had that conversation and all, so like I have a few pieces of advice to making your team a little better.
Yeah, exactly.
Start that in the conversation.
Yeah, I liked it. Are there any orgs who you feel didn't speak to you in this, or that you felt like you wish they had been maybe a little better in their response?
No, Travis. This is off season. We're being positive. We're
I
going to
know.
support the teams that are
I'm not asking you
here.
to shit on
Get
the
his
teams.
ass, Matt. Get his ass. This guy being like, oh, I was talking about players boomeranging. The orgs are boomeranging too. Doom and gloom is on the horizon. The LCS. Oh, I mean the LTA. The soul of America is gone. That's
As
Travis.
funny as C9's response was, though, I feel like the questions that I asked were ignored. And they do have the money to have the senior marketing manager responded, senior marketing manager, so they have a whole marketing team. Didn't really answer questions, didn't mention sponsors. Feel like they didn't really even mention why their org is special, and in reality, they're one of the top orgs in the region as a whole. So I would have liked to hear more from them. Again, whether they are obligated or should feel obligated to respond is one thing, but I did feel like their response was lacking the most, not
Which org?
just being the shortest, but also didn't answer pretty much any of the questions, really.
Which org? I missed that.
Cloud9.
Oh, yeah, okay. Damn.
You know
Yep.
what you should have done? You should have been like, whoever sends me the most free merch, I'll pick, and then you just see what you get.
True.
Shameless.
I mean,
Obviously, if it
hey,
was-
all I'm saying, we'll send this to TSG. Toast was on the show. If you're actually going to pick them, maybe they're able to send you something. Who knows?
Cubby?
Maybe hold
Cubby?
up.
You know who's a great seller for DSG at this point? Like whenever I would watch NACL, oh
Mhm.
my God, ScaryJerry is so funny. Just like he's pretty cocky. I like it.
He's
That
got
man
flair.
can talk. Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he has some flair. Between him and XU, they'll have plenty of chirpers on that team. They'll be able to chirp
True.
for sure.
All right, I'm gonna buy his jersey. ScaryJerry.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'll buy his jersey right now.
That's what I'm
Oh, there we
talking about.
go.
We got him.
Cubby was talking about getting you merch, and you're just going to do it. Okay. Well, congratulations, Dig, for TSG for the sale that we just made. Is there anything that you would like to shout out here at the end, Matt?
Yeah, shout out to all the teams for responding. Shout out to my wife for proofreading everything, and just really excited for the new year. Shout out to you guys for hosting the show where fans get to have a voice, and shout out to Raz for literally anything he does, breathing air, everything. He's a perfect individual.
Whoa! You know what? I'm gonna rename you from Matt Sucks to We Love Matt.
It's okay. You forgot my name. It's okay, Raz. You're still perfect. Still perfect.
No! No! Look, I remember the Matt part, not the sucks part. That's a good thing. All right, that's a good thing.
Okay. All right, guys. Have a good show.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
I love
Thank
you,
you.
Raz.
Catch you next
I
time.
love you,
love you.
Raz.
Love you.
Yeah.
All right.
Shout out to Matt, by the way, who kind of went back and forth with me about this idea, and I asked if he'd call in, so he did. That was fun. Yeah.
Is that what just happened? Is that I'm trying to learn the Gen Z language? Is that called glazing?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
He went from Matt Sucks to Raz Glazer, which is way funnier because my name is Matt.
Yeah.
So,
Huge.
yeah.
Right. Like a donut, right? All right. Should we grab the next caller?
The Krispy Kreme special. Yes. Let's do it.
All right. Shout out to over on YouTube. They did come through. We've got members. We've got Icebreaker Mints. Thank you for the 9 months. And Juan, thank you for the 27 months. By the way, I did just post a members only video over on YouTube for the folks who are members. So please check that out if you haven't seen it yet. And if you would like to see it, you can just become a member and then you get access to the back catalog of me talking about a bunch of random shit. All right. Our next caller is none other than BigNonsense. BigNonsense, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Los Angeles, California, where you spent Thanksgiving.
Yes, Friendsgiving, the host of the
True.
Friendsgiving event.
The gracious host.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drinking a mango cart right now. So thankful
Hell yeah.
that I had someone bring it over.
Tasted great, huh? Would you say the mango cart is a little bit better than store-bought pie?
It's not a store. Apple
no.
Pan is like an institution.
Raz, no, you don't understand. This apple pie is easily one of the best apple pies I've ever had in my life, if not the best one. Sorry,
Yeah.
like I'm very happy you brought mango cart. Don't get me wrong, but to follow this bit with you is to besmirch Apple Pan, and Apple Pan is like tier
opened
one.
in
It's
1947. It's been open for 77 years, Raz. All right, you can't.
Raz, have you not been?
I've not.
Okay, we got to get a burger sometime. It's dope. It's really good.
What do you want to talk about on the show?
It's sort of a nice follow-up to our previous caller, the Razglazer / Matt doesn't suck anymore. And if I were a person who goes into the LTA next year and wants a team to root for that is an underdog with a really, really high chance of overperforming, even though we don't know their full roster, I'd go with Dignitas.
Oh, we don't even know the full team yet.
We don't. But there's enough pieces where I'm like, I'm kind of all in.
All right, what do we know about the lineup so far?
So
reported on.
Yeah, reported on so far, and I had to look stuff up because people say things a lot, and I don't know what's locked in. But I believe all that is currently reported on by Sheep Esports / LCS EV and all them is we have a Surdy top, Keen mid. This is not the Keen a lot of people remember. This is a Keen who was in LATAM for a bit and
R7 at Worlds this past
right.
week.
And they were playing TFT, and he's putting on that leather jacket again from Team Gravity to go compete.
And then in the 80K,
jackets are sweet.
And the 80K carry position is Tomo, and to me, the most important thing, if I were looking for an underdog team to cheer for, they have Rigby coming in the coaching position.
Oh, I don't know if support has been reported on, but Isles is still under contract, I believe.
Okay, and I like Isles, so I would still be down for this roster if it does end up being Isles. But it was, for me, the Surdy, Tomo, Rigby trio kind of pushes me towards there's something here. I'm actually fucking down. And the main reason I'm down is because Rigby was given, obviously there was a whole supporting staff that went into EG, but Rigby was very, very open about how coaching a very young team into a more cohesive, scary unit was this recipe for success that turned into the magic of EG winning. I don't think it's going to be a thing where you're from week one, Dignitas is goated. I do think it's going to end up being a thing where you're going to see incremental improvement from young talent. They're going to get more refined, and they might upset some people. I like remembering that the EG that won in Houston was going into playoffs at 9-9. Not really something impressive. Obviously, the JoJo hype is very, very important. Inspired hype was very, very important. But I think people were mostly low on Danny. I don't think the Danny hype really happened until, in my mind, until the Baron, but probably closer towards the beginning of playoffs.
Cubby was the only... I remember Cubby, you were really excited about Danny, and you were promoting him a lot, right?
Yep, because he was an amateur. And
I think that was when I had you do the video to hype up amateur players on my channel, and you were talking about.
Well, people were pretty hyped about him because of the unofficial penta that he had on Tristana.
Oh, that's right.
Beforehand, so he did have a pretty big moment prior to that.
I don't want to discredit the individuals too much, but what I rarely see out of rookies is they will have these pop-off moments, and then somehow the teams actually start playing around this young talent super well.
Yeah.
And like I said, Rigby was one cog in what made that specific EG roster work. But with how open he was about the coaching process, and for better and worse sometimes, with his like colorful language. It makes me believe he is one of like the coaches to watch. And then when I see someone like Surdy, who is sufficiently hyped, Tomo, who actually really impressed in his revitalization of 100 Thieves, I'm already like pretty excited about this roster, purely from the perspective of, listen, I'm an OG CLG fan, and the only reason I became a CLG fan was because TSM was winning. And I love cheering for the people who are the rivals of the winners. Like, I adore that. It is so much fun.
Yeah.
And then buying the tickets to Madison Square Garden, being there, and like after like 3 years of cheering them on was really, really rewarding. And if you have that kind of mindset, I think you want to pick Dignitas, because I think the cash in can be crazy.
So one
like that
slight
style.
correction: Isles currently not under contract with Dignitas,
Okay.
but it sounds as though he's going to join based off of everyone's wink, wink, nudge, nudge that's happening on the show.
LCSEV was said in the chat that it is Isles at support. Yeah.
Okay.
Also,
And
thanks for
also-
responding, Rez. Anyway.
What was also
No,
another
yeah,
thing as
yeah,
well on top of that is, if I remember correctly, I mean the in-houses that are happening right now, I'm pretty sure Tomo and Isles are playing together.
Nice.
And I'm also pretty sure Surdy and Spica are playing together.
Yep.
And Spica is somebody that's been doing a little bit with Surdy throughout, like just on stream and solo queue. So in my mind, it's almost certainly going to be Spica and Isles, and I think it would be a good call. I think my worry about this team is that, yes, it's young. I don't know how they're going to be able to convert some wins at times. I wonder like my biggest question is probably going to be, I remember it's Caney, because they said it was Caney and Rainbow Seven, but maybe
sorry.
it's just wrong.
Okay.
I have no idea. We're going to figure it out when he
Yeah.
actually comes to LA, to be fair. But I said Caney during those times, and he's really good individually, but that was, I don't know how he's going to actually be able to communicate, but also just like gel with the team as a whole. So I think the hype is fair. I want to see what the team looks like overall. I think I'm a little bit more hype on a team like Shopify, just because I think their top side is good. I think Contracts Fudge is an incredibly strong duo. I think Palafox, he had one bad year, but prior to that has just always been a pretty explosive player. And historically, somebody that's come off of a bad year and had that second chance has like been able to put in a lot of work and change that. So I think he has a big chip on his shoulder. And the biggest question mark is like the B-Boy Seos, but I actually think that should be great. The question for me is always going to be whether or not like B-Boy was going to have a strong duo in lane at some point so they can actually start winning 2v2s consistently. And Seos was the best Brazilian support. He was like the support player that was a part of that championship winning rosters constantly with Loud before he found bigger and better money with Kaboom, I believe. And they had to downgrade to Redbird. So I actually think that it could be good. That's where I'm putting my chips.
For an underdog
you.
team?
Yeah, for an underdog team. Because I also align with you. The CLG underdog type of team that's like,
It's just
there's
fun.
always a line like going up against the best team.
Yeah.
I see that a little bit.
I like, and that's personal preference. I think if you're someone in the chat and you're just like, okay, no, this year I do want to get hella into LTA, and you want to, cheer for your C9s, your FlyQuests for individual players, or you just like the brands or your Team Liquids, I think that's totally fine. This is definitely catered towards the person's like, I don't really like being a bandwagoner. And so I dig that argument, Raz. It's funny because maybe it's just because I've been in the, I've talked to too many people in the scene for so long. But to me, I really am holding everything until I know who the staff is for any roster.
Yeah.
And because I've seen rosters with incredible talent, and then there will be a coach that I know behind the scenes people say he doesn't really do anything. And then the team flounders and people are like, why couldn't this team pop off? It doesn't make any sense. And I was like, it's probably because they didn't have structure and they all just kind of like did solo queue games and maybe stomp scrims and nobody ever analyzed why they were stomping scrims, stuff like that. So I see somebody like Rigby and I get really excited. It's maybe falsely because I'm obviously not in the rooms. But when I see like 100 Thieves succeed, I go, I feel like the staff did a big part of that. You know, when I see Team Liquid stick with the same roster, and I can maintain excitement for that team because I know the staff is like refined. So that's sort of why I would put my chips in the Dignitas side of things. You know, for all I know, that
I do like Revan quite a lot as a coach. I think he just had. Hey, first of all, Travis is just transformed in front of us all, guys.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
Travis is transforming. He's
Hello.
dying.
Hello.
Travis, are you alive?
I believe I'm alive. Is
Yeah, you're
what? First off, what was on stream? Oh, I see. I can.
Yeah,
I
the
it's.
extra
I was not
card.
seeing that on my end, but yeah, there was some crazy stuff happening.
I was just like, wait, what is
Good.
going on over there, Travis? He's transforming into a monster.
I have no idea.
But yeah, I've always I like Revan quite a bit. I think Revan is pretty smart, a really smart coach. I think his biggest problem, a lot of like the roster last year is not a winning roster.
Yeah.
That's my feeling. So it's a great test to see how this roster works for him.
Sure.
But yeah, so I think we're on the same kind of wavelength, hitching a horse, like basically our whatever it is on a horse.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
A
Your dark
saddle,
horse.
one would say. What about you, Cubby? Where are you feeling?
The one thing that I feel like is interesting, or I'd want to add, is I think in the past when teams were required to have secondary teams, Surdy is the best rookie that Dignitas has ever gotten their hands on. Like in the past, a player like Surdy would be jailed on 100 Thieves Academy or TL Academy, right? And they wouldn't go to a team like Dig. So I think it's really good for the league and good for Dignitas that they got their hands on a player like Surdy, who I hold in very high regard. And I would not be surprised if it went through Dignitas' history if this ended up being the best rookie that they've gotten their hands on. I think it's the best rookie I've seen a perceived lower tier team get their hands on since Kenvi at Immortals, which I know some people will instantly give flack for, but Kenvi was a beast in the secondary league. So
Yeah, agreed.
I think that Surdy, I know for a fact that Rigby was a big part of the reason that the Dignitas project ended up being where Surdy landed. And I'm really excited to see what he ends up doing. I think for that reason, I'm kind of with you in this roster, Elias. It's hard to look at Dignitas and not expect something to go wrong in the end. They've at best always been a middle of the pack team, and they've had so many different projects they've worked on throughout time. It's almost like they have to overcome what just the past history and what the past has been at Dignitas to actually want to do something good. So I don't really know if I mean, it's a different group in there, so I think they'll be fine. They can shake it off. But from a fan perspective and sentiment, they're going to have to really convince the fans they have something going, because Dignitas, to be fair, tried to do that this past year with the roster they had in summer, and that crashed and burned. So, yeah.
No, I definitely don't disagree with that. It is like if I really, really want to like squeeze the juice out of this underdog story like fruit, the idea that there's this like Dignitas curse is like pretty real. Like that, the way that like we just have this sentiment that like Dignitas is always kind of have a way to like screw it up or throw.
Yeah.
So that's always a fun narrative if you're cheering for underdogs, because you know, your team fucks up and then you commiserate online, you get really mad, and then they fire your coach and then you're really happy about it. I think that happened to some sports team. I can't think of their name. But like, you know, that kind of stuff is fun. So I guess this is in a two-part, me pitching like, I think Dignitas is going to be a interesting team / fun team to cheer for through highs and lows. And I think it's going to make for an interesting year.
I pray to God that he doesn't turn into a Bradley Beals of the Washington Wizards. Is all I'm gonna say. I pray to God that does not happen.
Yeah, they didn't win in November. That was pretty funny.
This team can definitely be good. 1,000%.
I saw a chatter say this, and I agree with them. That what made EG really shine was they had this core that was super consistent. And like there is no replacing Impact, and there is no replacing sort of Inspired on that roster. So I don't disagree, and then that's what's kind of missing from this Dignitas roster at the moment. But that's all I'm looking for. If they do pick up a jungler that I'm like, hell yeah, I know that guy can control an environment. Or it sounds like it's going to be Isles, but there's also a support who kind of plays that role, then I will like co-sign it 100%. Yeah, as of right now, it's the one I'm most tentatively excited about, and I want to root for an underdog team.
Great.
There it
Testing
is.
audio. Is this okay? I think it was
It's
my
good.
my Focusrite that broke and then just froze the whole XSplit setup for a bit.
I did not deliberately ignore Vulcan. That's on me. My bad. That's on me.
You're making the terrible decision to respond to
True. That's
Twitch.
on
It
me.
always
But
makes, if you're ever listening to the show later and people
True.
just start saying things that don't make any sense to the people that are on the show, it's because they're responding to chatters. I think Dignitas is a scam. They scammed me. They've scammed me multiple times. This year I bought a Dignitas shirt because I really liked the roster and they were selling it outside, and I thought it was a cool shirt. And once more, they scammed me. They make everybody always think that this is the time to root for them, and then something goes horribly wrong, and then they replace the entire roster again. So yeah,
That is my biggest complaint. My
Mhm.
biggest complaint with Dignitas is if you have a bad split, keep going on because the players will get better.
Sure.
But I feel like this. So I know Travis has coined the terminology of a boomerang player or something like that. I mean, this organization has had probably 1,000,001 boomerang players. That's why I'm right now. My biggest concern is literally Kaney, because we've had a bunch of mid laners that have come in, Dove, Blue. I mean, technically Jensen came in and then came out and then came back in and then came out. Like they can't make it. They can't make their minds up on that front. You can probably continue to go on, but it's like I just want them to find a player, hold on to that player, make that player their franchise player, and see it through. But now I see them pick up Surdy, and I'm just asking myself, how long is it going to take? I just want them to actually stick to a decision, and that's probably my biggest concern about them because I think when they brought in XU, I was pretty happy. I was like, he actually was,
Agreed.
somebody that you can champion. So I just want to see a little bit of patience, and I think there is appetite for patience in the community. They were happy, obviously, when it comes to succeeding organizations like Team Liquid and FlyQuest, but I didn't hear anything negative about 100 Thieves keeping their players together. Sure, they went to Worlds, but generally speaking, if you have a reason to give with holding players that you see as valuable, there's appetite for that. So I just want them to remember that.
That's super fair.
Yeah, I also like the dropping of XU when, for me, I think having him have 2 Korean solo laners that Dignitas' mid games were not clean. Like the engages and sometimes the sides they choose to play were not there. Swapping that to English speakers, I feel like that would have been a huge help to XU, and they didn't keep XU with that project. I'm a little bit surprised, though, that they're keeping Speak and Isles together. I didn't think that was the strongest duo this past split. And I think that what you were talking about earlier with keeping the project going, and it's funny because like SR for me is kind of doing that with some pieces, but also they swapped out like a lot. They just kind of stole other projects that were going on, or places like Revan's been before with working with C9. Like I believe he was there when Fudge was there. So
I think they did a good. I think they did a good job at holding. Like for instance, last year they kept Fake God for a full year. And I thought, even when people were making question marks in like midway through the split or going into summer, I was like, look, I can respect them committing to a player for a full year, even when the player isn't performing. Even though I look to see the market in place and say that Licorice is still available when, of course, he was performing and all that. Like a lot of top laners were available. Surdy's hype was going, but they stuck to their top laners. So I think they did a good job at saying, hey, we just want to see that project through. They did, and then they moved on. And I thought that was fair.
Yeah, I felt the same way about like Dokla. I thought Energy would move on from Dokla going into summer, and they did not, and that was fine. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, BigNonsense, for the call. Anything that you want to shout out here at the end?
Shout out to my wife Danielle. Shout out to NZXT, Prize Picks, Pagoda, Shout out to Raz's company and Travis for being the host of the most fun social group I have, which is my in-person MTG play group. It's very, very fun. So I appreciate you for that.
Yeah. Thanks so much for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Take it easy.
Raz, I didn't even know you had a company.
No, he meant like my company,
I know.
you know. Yeah. Okay. For when he said it at first, I was like, I have a company.
Shout out to Raz's company. Okay, shall we take a quick break? I think it's time for Cubby and I, speaking of sponsors, to watch a trailer. For this special episode, we have a cool sponsor who's come in. This is actually, I think, the first time we've ever had a game sponsor on Hotline League in all of its time. And that sponsor is Corepunk. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at their trailer. I'm going to switch over to that. Raz is going to go refill his drink, and let's take a look. Folks, tell me if audio is too weird or anything like that, because obviously I'm putting the video into the stream. So if I need to turn it down or up, let me know. Here we go.
Welcome to the world of Corepunk, an MMORPG where magic meets science, and interdimensional travelers become part of each other's stories as they explore, survive, and thrive in their new home.
I like the visuals and brightness of this a lot. I'm sure you're probably a couple minutes behind me, Cubby, or a couple seconds, but
and travel
it
through
looks
the
pretty
portal
cool.
from your home planet.
There's actually a lot of clarity, which I find in these
You'll
games
arrive
can
at a
lack
rich and
sometimes.
seamless
Yeah,
open
it reminds
world,
me of some other really
full
cool
of dangers,
games that
mysteries,
I've
and adventure.
played in the past, just
Embark
visually.
on epic quests.
And it's supposed to have
Or make your fortune as
MOBA
a trader
gameplay.
and master craftsperson.
Like MOBA
by
combat,
hoarding resources,
which is
Yeah.
pretty neat,
creating
and obviously
special
it's from that
items,
angle.
weapons,
Yeah.
and artifacts with unique properties. Meet
So
up
for
with
those
friends in the
that are
city
watching this and are
and
interested,
join
it is
forces
in
to
early
take on
access
deadly monsters.
right now.
Or
It
other
actually just went
players.
into early access a short time ago.
Use the fog of war to sneak up on your enemies and fight them together to claim victory.
Yeah, the MOBA part of this is actually kind of wild.
Yeah. It's really cool to see a lot of people trying to kind of bring in like the combat from MOBAs into
Corepunk is full
games
of
like
stories waiting to be told. What will yours
Yeah, it feels like kind of Super Vive plus, I assume, Diablo elements for like actually leveling.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also just like the kind of like fantasy aesthetic of it. So here's a couple. Obviously, we just watched the trailer, and just because I know there are some podcast folks who will, I think I can just probably loop it here, and then we'll talk about it a little bit while I've got the video on. But for those of you that are listening to the podcast and you couldn't see the visuals, here's a little bit of the key features. So it has a unique visual style, which is an eclectic and immersive visual style combining steampunk, dieselpunk, manapunk, cyberpunk, fantasy, and more. Emphasis on punk. The world's handcrafted with meticulous attention to detail. It has fog of war, so reminiscent of classic RTS and MOBA games. MOBA style combat. It's got open world exploration, a deep character progression, crafting system, narrative seasons and episodes, and group and solo play. So it's available now in early access, so folks can go check it out if they would like to. They also gave me, or are going to give me, keys that I can share with Cubby and Raz if he wants. I will follow up
Actually,
with him.
yeah, I might actually
Yeah.
take a key.
Yeah.
This looks fun.
So it's just kind of neat to see folks figuring out how to kind of iterate on some of that MOBA style gameplay. And I assume that like for the folks who are watching this and have played League and that type of stuff, they are used to this type of, I don't know, perspective in a game and controlling a character like this. But obviously it looks like from the trailer you get access to a lot more abilities than that we're used to in more of the 5v5 type stuff. So pretty cool to see, and thank you so much to Corepunk for sponsoring the stream. I believe we have a link, which if Numi has not been
It's in there.
sharing, oh, she has been awesome, and she shared it over on YouTube. Yeah, so there's a link in YouTube and Twitch if people want to take a look. Thank you so much to Corepunk for sponsoring the stream. All right, switching back to. Oh, and by the way, I should say that that link is also available in the YouTube description and the podcast description if you're looking, and I think it's pinned comment on YouTube if you're watching the show after the fact. All right, so Raz is still missing. We just see the door going into the abyss for him, but hopefully he'll be back soon, and then we can see what's going on. But honestly, Cubby, while we wait for Raz to return, because I don't want to pull a caller in and have him be gone, what do you look excited about in this off season? Like, what has struck you, especially in tier 2? Because I know obviously there's so much attention on tier 1, but is there anything that's happening in tier 2 that you're really excited about? Maybe the luminosity stuff or otherwise?
Yeah, I think luminosity coming in is good because DSG was really big for a poll, but it's so weird because we won't start the formal like 10-man league or competition until March. So this play-in tournament to decide the 3 teams that are going to join the rest of NACL is going to be really interesting, actually. I like how Raz just showed a cheeky face on stream. We'll dip back in. But I don't know what the info is going to be. I'm kind of waiting for an announcement or to get contacted for it myself. But it's kind of reminding me, Travis, of the tournament where teams had to play into LCS in season 3. And I think that we're just going to have some really fun discovery, and a lot of players get fast-tracked into the league that may or may not have already, like, it may have taken them more time to get there, but the 3 teams that make it in, that's going to be really big for everyone. And I'm really curious to see what that tournament looks like. I think that's going to be really exciting for Tier 2. Besides that, though, I can say that a lot of the game for the next season leaked, and I'm honestly pretty excited about that and just the changes that are to come for season 15.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think they realize that they have to keep pushing the game, so I'm excited to see what they do. I've also, just as a random side, as Raz sitting down, I've been playing a ton of TFT. I meant to mention that at the start, but I've been really liking the set.
I played one game yesterday because I had so many people at the Magic event yesterday say that the set was so good for TFT.
Yeah.
And I hit level 3 Heimer, so I won my first game.
Oh, yeah. That is...
Yeah, that was over.
That's going to do it. Yeah, Heimerdinger's good. All right, Raz is back, so let's grab the next caller. Hello, Raz. What did you make? Did you make tea? Oh, why can't I hear Raz? Raz, did you mute?
Oh, I muted myself.
Yeah. Cubby, you can go grab the next caller.
I did get tea, and also I found cheesy bread. I didn't know I bought that yesterday. I forgot about that.
Oh, that's big time save. Big time.
Huge. It's actually humongous.
Nice. Glad to hear. We were just talking about things that we were excited about in the off season, or news that we were excited about in the off season. Was there anything that you're excited about?
Ooh, a lot of dirty reality TV shows, or let's just say there's.
So we were talking more about the context of like tier 2 moves or stuff like that. But I'm glad you're enjoying dirty reality TV. Trespasser is here. Trespasser, where are you calling from?
Trespasser.
Hi, Raz. I'm calling from Downey, California.
Downey, California. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Hi. So I don't really have a take, but a question for Cubby. So I wanted to ask Cubby about ScaryJerry because he's promoting from Tier 2, and I'm really excited about that. But as someone who doesn't really pay attention to much Tier 2, like I wanna run down on him, like his weaknesses, his strengths, and all that. So
yeah.
Question about ScaryJerry promoting from Tier 2. So yeah, what's the story with ScaryJerry? Where is he headed first, Cubby?
I can give the spiel, but it's also nice we have Raz here because I know Raz keeps up with NACL and mentioned ScaryJerry earlier, so he'll be able to chip in too. Yeah, so the report is that he's headed to Disguise to be their AD and round out that roster. He was the AD for Maryville/Dragonsteel this past year, and he was first team All-Pro in both seasons for NACL. ScaryJerry, it's interesting because I've been thinking about this more and more. Obviously, now that he's rumored to be up playing at the next level, he's a interesting story because he wasn't good in the first split of NACL with Maryville. It was a different roster, but in summer of 22, summer of 23, Maryville promoted, and he did not play well. I thought he was one of the weaker ADs that was in the league. He was always getting leads in lane, and then I was just kind of expecting him to make mistakes later on that would take the game out of his hands and out of Maryville's hands. he really rounded himself out. And like the reason why I find that it's so interesting, his climb, is because I think AD's been kind of figured out in terms of scouting. People look for how well you can play fights, how good your spacing, can you hit abilities during the fights, and if you can do that and play AD at the highest level where you need the reaction times and the ability to space at the highest level, we can kind of teach you the rest. We can fill in the gaps when it comes to laning, how to play map, how to make sure you're getting resources and get everything else. ScaryJerry for me was very much the opposite of that, where he was a strong laner, always was a strong laner off the bat, but then wasn't playing fights well enough. And he worked really hard this past year to really round himself out and be someone where if he had a lead, I felt like he could carry it home. He's someone that I think really had to work hard. I think that his strength in NACL, it was laning. The AD pool was a lot weaker this year for me. ScaryJerry ended up being at the top of it with Sajed. I think Tomo was a little bit stronger before he ended up going to 100 Thieves, but it was a decent barometer for where Jerry was at. And yeah, there's a lot of other stuff behind the scenes. I think that being at Maryville really helped Jerry. I know that he was climbing a lot. Everyone at the Maryville camp said that he's a really, really hard worker. As Raz said, he's willing to chirp, which I find fun.
Yeah.
So I was pleasantly surprised, I'll say, at Jerry's promotion. I think the best comparison that I have for him is probably Yawn. Because I was expecting Masu. I wasn't expecting for Masu to do as well as he did this past year, but I thought that Masu would be good. I was very confident that Masu was going to be good when he won an LCS. I'm not as confident with Jerry. I think that Yawn, when he first promoted, Yawn was a really good laner and had to round out some team fight mistakes that it was his rookie woes. And he had actually having to play the game less, I think, in his second year compared to his first year, which kind of helped him add clarity and focus to the games that he was playing. I don't know if Jerry's going to be the same path, but I think the skill set is similar that Jerry brings in terms of just being a little bit better at laning and the earlier stages of the games. It's not like he struggles later, but he had to work really hard on making sure that wasn't the case. But yeah, I don't have Jerry as like this raw talent like Masu. I think that Jerry was someone that really had to work to get where he was at, and he was willing to do that, and he got himself there. So it was really cool seeing him just continue to improve throughout his time in Maryville.
I do not have much to add. He pretty much said the spiel. I think what I loved out of him is that he makes it very clear and he proves. I don't know how he does it. Probably just personal, going through his own VODs or someone. I know that with Maryville, they have a great system.
Yeah.
In improving players. But he definitely improved individually. And he's the type of player that's willing to pull out Callista, and he's quite good on the Callista. There's a lot of picks that he's great at. He just improved dramatically individually. And you're right, he's a chirper. And he's not like maybe I'm wrong in that he's not usually the one that starts the chirping. What I usually see is like if someone else is chirping on the enemy team, he's going to respond. He's going to respond, and that makes shit exciting.
Yeah, that's true. We definitely have a lot more chirpers in the league too, as it's kind of been encouraged and people have hopped in. Yeah, I'll be interested to see how he does. I don't have him in as high regard as I did Masu, but I held Yawn in a higher regard as well. But I think that in terms of skill set and what to look for, I think that's probably the best pro comparison I can think of for Jerry, and I'll be rooting for him. He's a really hard worker and a good kid, and I feel like he, whenever he's had doubts, he's always been very motivated to shut me up about them, which I appreciate too. So yeah, that's been fun in the past.
It's like, go on.
I was going to ask, do you all have any concern about him being on this roster? Because when I think about teams and orgs that are able to develop talent, especially new talent, like I'm worried that the sort of newly assembled DSG thrown into this league as a promotion spot situation, it's just might be difficult for him to find success.
I mean, I can use this to talk about how good I think Maryville runs their system out in St. Louis, and how I think they're actually pretty far ahead of what some LTA teams are even doing in their own house in terms of how they.
But that's what I mean is like you're taking him out of that system and you're putting him into Disguised, which is not necessarily.
I don't want to take anything away from Disguised. It's just a we'll see because we haven't seen anything from them at this level, right? Like we don't know what their operation is going to look like for next year.
I can say something then because two things that gave me a little faith. First, I worked with Huhi when he was in Academy for whatever reason. I mean, that guy was definitely not an academy player. He was definitely an LCS player at that time, and he immediately proved that within a split. But he was with us, and he was with Gorka at the time, and I saw how he worked with in that dynamic, and I saw him also work with some other young players as well. He's somebody that's really open about giving feedback, and after every VOD, like he's a great team player. He's a great glue to a team, and he's, I think, really good in being able to work with a new player. And
no one's ever disliked playing with Hui.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's not the type of person that will think that he's above like feedback. He will always try and make you feel as comfortable as possible to give feedback to him as well.
Yeah.
So I think that actually makes it very easy. And another thing to note is I like the coach Mash. I think Mash as a coach, of course, he came in as players coach. He worked with the TL like challengers team as their head coach. But in general, if you talk to players, they give a lot of respect to Mash because he is a really good bot lane coach. Specifically,
Yeah.
He has always been strong in terms of like being able to tell you what you did right and wrong bot lane. And so in general, he is a great players coach. So I think they put him in a really good situation. We have a really solid players coach coming in the head coaching position, and I think Kuhi is also going to do a really good job in being able to hold him down. So I actually think it's a good situation to be in. That's my theory.
I have a lot. I think Match will be of great help. Like I think this is a good pairing. I have trouble because I don't know everything that happened with TLC this past year, but when your team has a worse win rate when you're ahead at 15 than overall, like I feel like there's a problem. And that was TLC the entirety of last year, right? And for me, that's like Mash and that team, they just were not able to solve the problem. So obviously it's a new team, new setup. I think if Mash's going to have any rookie, having won the role where he played at a really high level and always gets his flowers from players is good. So that'll definitely be of help to Jerry for sure. So yeah.
Yeah, this is, I mean, getting outside this Jerry conversation around Disguised, even though I have them placed like 6th of the 8 teams, I think their roster building was smart. Bringing XU is a great decision. I think having Huhi, who'd worked previously with Abadaga, but also can make Castle comfortable and communicating with him as well. I know Castle already speaks English. That's not a problem whatsoever, but I think it makes it some that level of comfort is always going to be really needed, especially if you don't have a lot of staff members. It's just going to be Mash and then maybe one person. Then you need like an in-game leader. So I actually do think they're built to rise, but I mean, right now I'm pretty low on them. I have them in 6th place.
As like a follow-up question to Cubby and Raz, do you guys think that like Surdy and ScaryJerry, like the only 2 people being promoted from tier 2, is that enough, or do you think there could be more?
I think it was tough this year, just given like the teams narrowed. Yes, we still have 8 teams, but the talent pool got narrowed with LAN pretty much being dissolved. When I was asked on stream who should be promoted or not, I said that Surdy, Shaden, XU, and Yuji would all make good pros tomorrow. And then after that, I probably mentioned Jerry next and said that Toasty needed a little bit more time, but he's a player I'm still really excited about. I don't think personally, I don't know if 2's enough or not. Just, it's a weird offseason. I know if Yuji just didn't get just fucked from galaxies away, then he probably would have been a 3rd in the league because he had offers. So I will say it's not enough, just in honor of Yuji just getting just incredibly done dirty. So yeah.
Another thing to note too is even though you're right on the Yuji point, doubling back on the point around Lion, people often and will continue to forget that like they just have a different import rule because they are an LLA team.
Yeah.
So like that is always going to be a point because now you have Luminosity that have players that people are going to be like, you should be in the LTA. Insanity is a great example of that. People are going to be right now on the outside looking in. So there's just not a lot of space. I am a big believer that you can do 10 teams, but we're far away from that because I think there is talent. There's just not a lot of space, which makes it hard.
It's not a lot of money. I think it's the biggest.
That's also
thing.
another one too.
Yeah.
You can be a broke ass org like Disguised. All right, get more broke ass orgs in here.
For what it's worth, I think that especially with Winter being a split where there isn't going to be formal NACL competition outside of the whatever they're going to do to find the next 3 orgs, which I assume is going to be a tournament or a qualifier of some sort. I believe that was in the announcement. I wouldn't be surprised if you end up with a few younger players being in a trainee scenario or given a lot of access to what the LTA North teams will be doing just to get them in house before they actually start competing in this upcoming split. I don't have anything where it's like that's going to formally happen, but I know that there are teams that are looking to still get their hands on talent, even if it doesn't mean running like a 5-man team in NACL. So I really hope that we have teams that still want to bring in. I don't even think that subs are the best because like you can't do loans, but just trainee situation where they get access to everything, including their coaching. I think it would help out a lot.
Thank you so much, Trespasser, for the call. Anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, sure. Shout out to NZXT, of course. The Basil Cat Cafe ran by Numi. That was super fun to go to.
Yeah.
Blabber is always my NA goat. You know, he just needs 4 more of those. Making the Rounds by Karen Moser and Emily Rand. That's always a good listen. And last, I hope Jamada and Amara find a job. Sincerely. So, yeah.
There's a lot of underemployed people right now. Thank you so much, Trespasser, for the call.
Mm-hmm. Take care.
Raz, are you helping Jamada get a job?
Look, I've given him a job as my servant, but you know, if he wants to take it, no, that's a serious. Yeah, you know what? No, I'm literally, I can't do anything, Travis. Look, you wait a minute, Travis. You've been asking me to be a third party on this show. You have the money. Make him the third person.
Do I have the money?
You're Moneybags Travis. That's what they call you.
If they called me that, it should have been in 2022. That was when I had 3 sponsors and was doing a big road show and all that stuff. I never reached the money that pro players, but
yeah.
I think I followed a similar arc with the TGI business. We went from the big bucks to DSG money,
The TSM trajectory.
But I'm happy to have a job right now, so I'm not complaining. All right, we have a final caller of the evening. You want to go grab them?
Yeah, I got it.
Thank
you. 30 whole minutes, Travis.
What?
Nothing. Continue.
Well, I explicitly I told Cubby earlier before the show started, like, we might just do a shorter show because there's just less to talk about, and I'd rather do a shorter show that feels better than like just draw it out,
Yeah, that's fair.
So, and especially like, it's like it would have been easy to skip this week because we were coming out of the holiday, but people like listening to the show every week, and I don't want to screw them out. So we've got Director Donut here, though. Director Donut, what do you got for us, or where are you calling from?
Hi, my name's Cedric Hofstetter. I'm calling from Houston, Texas. My take is, given DSG's rumored roster, I don't think the promotion or relegation system is going to get, quote, dream teams or exciting young talent to the LCS any more than traditional LCS teams.
All right. Why do you feel that way?
Well, as you guys touched on the last call, their rumored roster is Castle, XU, Abadage, ScaryJerry, and Huhi, which is technically 3 imports and 2 native players, with obviously Huhi's been here for a while. He's a staple in the LCS at this point, but it's still only 2 native or academy type players, which is basically what we've seen on most LCS teams for the last several years. And on top of that, none of the players are carryovers from their team last year, which obviously there's a caveat, I think, when they didn't actually win a promotion match or didn't actually win NACL, so clearly their team probably needed to make some upgrades, but not a single player carrying over is a little unfortunate, in my opinion. But as you guys touched in the last call, they're obviously in certain positions may not have been that deep of a pool to choose from, so it does make some sense that they might need to pull from imports. But
What I haven't heard yet, and I don't know if it's been discussed. I apologize if it's somewhere. Maybe Cubby you've heard, but okay, they didn't do an actual promotion tournament, and they were just like, "All right, Toast, you can have the spot," which is I'm excited. Toast is in the league. I do find it ironic, given the
I
intent.
think it was the right call from a marketing standpoint.
Yes, yeah, but what I haven't heard yet is how they're planning on, like, if 5 players qualify in at the end of next year, are all 5 of those guaranteed spots in the starting lineup the next year? Are any of the players guaranteed spots in the starting lineup next year?
No,
Because that's the irony.
That's
like,
a good question.
whenever Team Liquid, because this shit used to happen in the old days of promotion relegation, and that's why I find it funny that Team Liquid and FlyQuest use the excuse of, well, that we won't be able to get good players because they'll want to promote. Is I'm like, I don't think promoting is a guarantee that you get to stay on the team. Like, oftentimes what happens is off season occurs and they're like, oh shit, we can get, I don't know, some crazy player like Masu right now. Okay, we're gonna do that.
So I know that for promoting into NACL, I believe that we have a 4 out of 7 rule. The 7 would mean two subs, and I think that's it. But pretty much, you can change 3 players in the main roster as long as you keep your 2 subs. I know that wasn't a rule like that instituted in the back half of the promotion relegation. I think it's something that's necessary. I think a 3 out of 5 rule is actually healthy. Or at least a 2 out of 5. Owners will push for it to be 0. I think there should be some requirement. And if that's not the case, then I will be disappointed, because I think that is necessary to at least make sure or ensure that the people that got you there can actually compete in the league. If the org gets the spot and they farm the entire team, I think that's bullshit. So I would like for there to be a rule in place, but I'm not sure if one's been formally announced.
I'm just a fan of the fans hailing shit at the team if it happens. I don't think it's needed personally. You might have a team coach situation where that's kind of the example where they just sack the entire team to like pick up Korean players, that might happen. But I think right now in NA, I don't think there's ever been a time like this where there's so much appetite for just having like homegrown players come in that people will get flamed the shit for just even going for, even it being rumored that you're looking for an import.
Yeah, I was amazed at the Jerry reaction, honestly. Like, people just want to see people promoted internally. Because, again, I don't want to take anything away from Jerry, but for me, Jerry it's not like a Masu getting promoted, right? It's not like this astronomical talent that I expect to be a top 80, which is the fact that
Cubby hates
I did expect
Scary
Masu to be a top
That's
80
what I'm realizing
at
from
some
this
point.
episode.
Like,
yeah, no, that's definitely not it. I'm just being honest about the player.
And to give and to defend this guy's tier, even though I know no one in the organization at all, just me from the outside looking in.
Yeah.
Like, ScaryJerry makes sense, thumbs up. XU makes sense, thumbs up. In fact, they're not even fucking vindictive about this. The fact that XU made the post, I think there was XU that got ignored by Disguise in the first time around.
That was funny.
That was hilarious. If that was like a Reginald situation, that brother's gonna get mad and just have an ego about it. No, like he's the best option out there. They picked up XU. I know you mentioned who he has an import. I just not at all for me. No, I just blanket no. The man's as American as he can get at the moment.
Yeah.
But so like, and the Abadaga pickup makes sense to me because that was the one position that I was kind of wondering if they even had like strong enough mid laners in NACL. For me, I think it just needs some time. Obviously, there are some players. Some of them are not interested in coming back to full competitive. I'm not going to name names because then, throw names out there. But some of them were great that just like weren't willing to get back in. Like,
I'm sad about Copy too.
Yeah. So like there are some great players out there that is just not available. And for a while, top lane, from my understanding, was a toss-up between another homegrown player. And they, last second decision, they went with Castle. But at least they're considering it, and I think they had it in mind, which I would like. If there's an org that does win through, let's just say Luminosity ends up winning, takes down Disguise, and everybody, welcome to LCK Luminosity. Like, then everyone would fucking hate the organization, and I don't think they want that. I think they want you to buy the merch because it's a guest slot. So I think right now we're in a pretty good atmosphere. Yeah. Yeah, R said Tenacity or Castle. That's also what I heard. So, like, They made the effort.
Tenacity was in the mix. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind if I jump in?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I definitely don't want to take anything away from like who he and like how long he's been around. But on the other hand, I think that is one of the reasons why I'm not that excited to see him is I don't think he's had a great last at least year and a half, and he's somebody who we've seen for a long time. We've seen like his peaks where he's had some really good splits, and other times he's looked not great at all. And so like picking him up right now, especially like you made a good point where like he can make the other player look good, and he might work really well with ScaryJerry and help him perform really well. But I also think like when it's similar to honestly Abadage, where to my understanding, watching not every LEC game, but a lot of them when he was on was he on Giant X or what was the team he was on?
On XL, he was quite good.
XL,
quite
he was okay.
Yeah.
But was that last year? Or was that the split before?
I cannot remember. Time goes by too quickly for me.
Yeah, I've got lost on LEC recently, but I don't know. I haven't. They don't excite me individually on their own. If like you said, you think that they might balance each other well, I think that'd be great, and I hope that's how it works out for them. But like, I think they're like, for example, like Insanity, who ended up on Luminosity. I think he would have been a cool one to have potentially on this team, or like I was really hoping Tenacity was going to end up staying on Disguised. And while Castle is a player that people have said, and players and everyone talk him up a lot as a mechanics, we saw some of that last year. I think that's exciting. I think also Tenacity getting another shot would have also been really cool.
I would have liked that actually, because I don't think Tenacity had his best summer, but for me, Disguised was a bad team in spring, and I had Tenacity as my second best top laner. I thought he was playing really, really well in spring. I would have loved to see Tenacity actually get another shot.
I do love the examples you're putting out there, because I think that's oftentimes what's lost in this conversation. Is like talking about who you could have gotten. Because I was pretty frustrated that Insanity didn't find a team.
Yep.
I think I would like to see Tenacity on a team, but like, yeah, it is what it is. I would personally love it. The only one that I would challenge you on is this I think the support pool generally is pretty weak. I actually do. I know I have a favor towards Huhi. I like Huhi quite a bit. I know what he brings on a team, even though it's been rough for a little bit. I just also believe there isn't like a strong, well-known support right now. But I'm interested in hearing like alternatives.
So I'm with you on that a little bit, Raz, because a lot of the supports that were topping the league have been there for a while, and I think I would have liked to see Chime in a spot. Chime decided to do other stuff. I thought Chime was playing really well this past year.
Yeah.
But shout out actually to Saito and Parth, who has the combine going on right now. The supports in there are Cryogen and Mixture. I said that those are the two supports I take bets on. And Mixture, I actually got him to apply, and he made top 10. So I was really happy for him.
Huge.
But those kids don't have experience yet, and they need experience. And support is definitely a role that scales with experience. I think looking at Busio is a great example. Like, if you make a mistake as support, you die. And that takes some time to figure out. And also, I think for fans, it just looks bad. And fans don't really get that at times. Yeah. I think that they're a little bit hard on young supports. So, but yeah, I mean, I was telling people to look at or ask Insanity to see if you're one of the role swap to support, because yeah, I agree. I don't think the support pool is great, but there are a couple kids that are coming up that I think need time. But I'm actually really hopeful for both Cryogen and Mixture. They have good hands and good engage sense. So I'm hoping that they continue to scale.
What I think is really relevant to the caller's initial, or Director Donut's initial take here, which is, will the current LTA promotion relegation rules promote people to LCS?
I was going to get into that, but yeah, go. Yeah.
I've been trying to say something forever. And
I'm just trying to piss you off a little bit more, Travis.
Just gone off.
You did too well at Magic yesterday.
Name dropping.
I appreciated the invite.
Maybe I wasn't clear. I think it will.
Okay, listen. Yeah. Here's why Director Donut is correct. Director Donut's whole take is like, hey, this is the theory is that this is supposed to promote people into the LCS. I think that it is less likely to, because it will, I hope, do a good job of swapping out organizations which are not doing a good job of maintaining a competitive roster in the LCS or LTA, and replacing them with hopefully an organization or a team of players that are better, and it will sort of leave a threat. Now, obviously, it's for only one slot, but on the other hand, what it won't do is be like, oh, here's the great way in which we're going to finally have a wave of rookies like crush veterans and push all these veterans out. Because the thing is that teams historically who have been looking to promote, they go get good established talent that has been around for a while, and they put them on their lineup. These are not usually the best players because they're going to be on the best players are going to be on the best teams that are already in there, but they can find these veteran mainstays that can crush rookie talent to get their way in. And then once you're in there, you now have the threat of getting relegated. So you oftentimes fill your roster with, again, veteran established talent because you can't take a risk, right? I know everybody shits on franchising. One of the goals of franchising was to allow teams to be able to take more risky plays with their lineups.
Yep.
They didn't end up doing that most of the time, or at least when they did, we all thought that those risky plays sucked because they didn't pan out or something. But that was the main goal, right? Or one of the main goals was to create an environment in which teams didn't have to constantly worry about getting, the standard talent that can at least get you 5th or 6th because you're afraid of finishing 7th or 8th or 9th or 10th or whatever. So I agree with this. I think we're going to see a lot of teams, if we do see teams promote, it will be because they have these like veterans and mainstays in the mix. And if you see teams that are in there stay in, it will be because they are probably taking a lot of players that people expect to do well.
I very much disagree. It might happen. It really depends on obviously the org that comes in, but the idea that you're saying that the promotion system is there to promote players, it's there to promote teams. Like there are going to be some teams that are just like, I'm not going to name a team because it could be different this year. They're just sitting on their ass making bad decisions, and there has to be like, in this case, it's obviously this guys are the only team that are a guest slot, which I hope there are more guest slots in the future because I like the idea of a promotion tournament. I like the idea of saying, hey, you made a bad decision. Your ass is on the line. I love that process. The stakes are high. And in this case, like if a team promotes into the league, they should have the right to be able to make adjustments. Now, I remember when I was like an assistant coach for Dignitas Europe, and that was a team with Wonder, it was Nisbeth, Kobe, Sencooks, Obvious, and Wonder. And we were promoted. I moved on. But they made adjustments. They got trashy in that role / cold. Like they thought that they can get better by adding a few more pieces, and later on they got Mickey X. I think a team should be able to do that because guess what? There is more interest now in joining a team that is in the Premier League, in a Tier 1 league. So I think if a team does make a really shitty decision of saying we're going to import 3 roles or we're going to bring a veteran that people are not fans of, guess what? There is now a large appetite for GMs just want the fans to be listened to. And if the fans are saying keep the players that you have because we love them, they will do that. Maybe make some adjustments.
You think GMs will just keep the players there?
There are some players that are still in the league because the fans were literally yapping about that.
Okay,
and the GMs listened to it. Otherwise, they will not happen.
I think that used to be the case, but for the most part, I think for a long time there's been an appetite to promote players from Tier 2, and GMs don't do that because GMs' their incentives are to create a stable performing roster, not to take long-term bets because they will lose their job if their team underperforms unless
can I hop in
a couple
here?
Different GMs. Yes.
So you're right, and this is where some of the teams that actually used NACL well were able to cultivate talent that like went through. I mean, when TL put out their announcement, like I know for a fact that was a huge part of their system, and the team they had now, they were able to take long-term bets given the fact that they had a second team. My concern and why it's not going to promote it is the teams that are trying to promote into NACL are not going to take those bets. Look at Luminosity Gaming. That's all the evidence that you need. And I think that the kids that are actually probably need the hands-on coaching and need the exposure to having someone like Blippo on your pro team and getting access to those VODs and those comms where you have all this information from some of the smartest players in the world that you now have access to, that's not going to happen anymore. And like that's my big concern is there isn't going to be a safety net to actually take long-term bets. And even like FlyQuest taking Masu on their NACL team or taking Sejeb like they did this past year. That's just not going to happen with the teams that are making decisions now. So I think that, yes, there is an appetite for actually promoting these players, but long-term and the change of the system, I don't think we help these players at all with adding promotion and relegation back in. It's just going to go, hey, go win and earn it, which they can do. But I think that a lot of the players that might have that upside are not going to be given the resources that they need to actually reach it earlier on in their career, and I'm concerned about that.
That is a fair fear. The fear is fair. The main point, when you use the Luminosity as an example, I think it would be a fair example if they promoted and then they ship those players out. That would be the actual example, I would say. So even though they're taking their bet is saying, okay, these are all LCS players, we just want veterans, or we just want known names. That is, sucks. But it would be even shittier if they actually made it through and they said, guys, here comes Duck, the Korean LCK player coming in for 1 year. You know, he was on T1 Challengers or something like that. That would be fucking ass. But so I don't think that's like an apt comparison. And I think what is fair is like Masu got brought in because there was an appetite for taking a chance on a great prospect. Same, like even APA stayed as long as he did, even off of like the poor like split, quote unquote, because fans are rabid on like, we love his personality. If you just dump him after a split or after a year, we will be mad. I personally have heard that the fact that the fans were on his side gave him a chance to be there longer.
Yeah.
So those are obviously.
But that's separate from promotion relegation, right, Rez?
Say that again.
That's separate from the promotion relegation system.
Well,
right?
we don't have a promotion example because back in the day when promotion and relegation did exist, there was no appetite for like. But in fact, players constantly said there's no talent down there because they didn't fucking want competition.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's my point is that like Team Liquid can't afford to. So assuming that it is correct that APA is there because of fan sentiment, Team Liquid can't afford to take those risks in a way that promotion relegation can't, right? And so to the caller's point, promotion relegation is not going to help like promote new talent into the league because of that exact reason, right? Where like the GMs are going to be incentivized to defend the spot or to earn the spot, and whereas Team Liquid can be like, okay, we'll give APA another split. You know, the next split doesn't matter anyway, so let's see how it goes. Like the thing for me that I think is actually going to help promotion relegation, Raz, is poverty.
Honestly, that helped a lot in the past couple of years, sadly. So
I mean, like it's teams will no longer be able to afford
no more buyouts.
Yeah, like buyouts, bringing players over from other regions, paying people a premium to come do this. Like the veterans are going to retire because they're like, fuck, I was making $450K last year and now I'm getting offered 75 and I've been doing this long enough. I'm just going to go to college. Like I think that's the thing that's going to do it.
I agree with you, but you're supporting my point because I think, yes, both the wages of a guest team coming in, but also, yes, there's like the fans do want an NACL player, especially if the player is at the end of the year holding a trophy, winning that split, and is not going to be seen the next split, people are going to ask why. So I think it's a combination of both.
Sure. Yeah, I do. I mean, I am very curious for when we see something like that. But all this assumes that Toast and Disguise get relegated this year or next year, which I don't know if that's going to happen or not. We'll have to see. So.
Also, I'm going to hold my hands up. I don't want to be clip farmed because I know that it's a case-by-case basis. And if a random-ass team decides to do it, like if Team Coast comes back with the slams, then guess what? Like, hey, that's not me. Like, it can happen. It's a hypothetical.
I'm already clipped what you said before, and I'm setting a Google Calendar invite for myself for a year from now, so that if it happens, I just stick that in there.
All right.
You know how clip farming works. Like you don't. What you say before and after the clip doesn't matter. You can't. You can't unclip farm.
I'm gonna clip this part to combat the other clip. That's what happens.
All right, Director Donut, thanks so much for the call. Anything you want to say or shout out here at the end?
Yeah, I would like to thank you guys for hosting the show every week and tell Raz how much I appreciate him and that I always really like him when he's on the broadcast. And then also thanks to the sponsors NZXT and Corepunk.
Thank you so much
And
for the
also,
call.
that
We'll catch you next time.
was the best call of the night, I think. I really enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Thank you for calling in. That was
You're
fun.
you're just saying that because you forget that the other person earlier thanked you for breathing air.
I'm at the topic, all right? We had an argument in the topic. That's what the show's about.
I'm pretty sure you said this is the best call because you appreciated how I don't know what is up with all our callers lately. There's no thank you, Travis. Thank you, Cubby. Thanks, Hotline League. It's just like, thanks, Raz. Wow, Raz is so cool.
They're
Raz,
thanking your sponsors. Isn't that more than enough?
if these
Travis?
people saw what I saw on your close friends on Instagram last night, they wouldn't be saying that. They would be.
No, they would love it.
Oh wait, DM me which one, Travis. DM me which one.
It was.
I got a couple in mind.
Raz was. Are you?
You
Am
can
I allowed to
it.
say
No,
what
could
you
say it.
were?
You could say it.
Raz was. I opened close friends, and Raz is just out there filming literal physical fights that are
Yes.
occurring in the street.
No, that was banger. I asked you where that was. Raz.
There's
You didn't get back
there's
to
a
me.
group
I
of
planned on
people
location.
that are sitting on, and I won't say the roads. I'm not gonna say the roads, but there's like, and I don't think Raz by any means lives in like a bad area. And all that now, this is the point where all
No,
of the
he doesn't. I
idiots
was
that have
afraid
never
he was
visited
outside of
LA
one
are
of my
going to be like,
favorite watering
LA's a hellscape, but like very strange, like just rows of people on the sidelines of the street, and in the middle of the street, there's just fist fights occurring. Raz is recording all of it. There's a second clip that comes up, and he's like, somebody threw a phone at me, and I almost got involved. Like, I don't know
trying to
what
get
was
on
going
Worldstar.
on. It was insane, though. It was insane.
It was crazy. I was scared it was like next to my favorite watering hole because Raz does not
No,
live in a bad part
no
at
doxing,
all.
no doxing.
I know, I'm not, but
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh my God, it
was
funny.
peak content. I watched that. It was wild.
The benefit, storytelling time. The benefit of living near bars is when it gets pretty late, people are drunk fighting. It happens. I've had numerous phone, I'm a journalist at the end of the day, much like you, Travis. I get out in the street, and if I see conflict, I am there recording that
Yeah,
conflict.
he's uploading this. You could get a membership to his private fight club scenes.
What happened was I was
Worldstar.
I was out with friends, we were having a good time. And then I got, my friend was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to, get the Uber." I was like, "Okay, that's fine. Sounds good. I'm not paying for the Uber. That's all good." He gets a Waymo car. I was like, "Waymo? Oh God, I'm going to die tonight." For people that don't know Waymo, it's an unmanned car. It's like an AI driven car. So there's no one in the driver's seat. In fact, if you get in the driver's seat, support will call you and be like, "Why are you in the driver's seat?" So I was like, I'm going to die tonight.
Do you know that because you got in the driver's seat?
No.
Okay.
A friend got in the driver's seat. So I had to explain it. I had to explain it to the support team. I was like, "Oh yeah, they were actually getting in the driver's seat to leave the car. That was at the stop." He's like, "Okay, because we also detect you're the only one in the car too, so you're good to go." And I was like, "All right, perfect." So then I get up. By the way, we're driving past the fight because the fight is on the streets. So the Waymo car is probably confused as fuck because it's trying to weave past people that are in the streets, and I could see them beating down on one guy that's probably said something really unfortunate when he was in a drunk state of mind. And so I was like, when I get dropped off, I took out my phone. I'm in action. And so the multiple.
I didn't even know the Waymo part. The fact that the street was filled with people fighting and you're in a Waymo approaching it is even crazier. This is, I know I just shit on people who make fun of LA, but this is the most LA story I've ever heard.
It's like cyberpunk.
Yeah,
it literally is cyberpunk.
Yeah, it's literally cyberpunk.
I'm this corpo trash bastard just realizing there are people out there fighting each other.
Yeah, you're driving by in your AI-driven car as there are physical altercations occurring in the middle of the street.
Oh, and I used them for content. Even worse. Hey, I didn't put it on my main story. I put it in my friends only list, all right?
Yeah.
It was good content.
Oh god.
I wish I could Waymo to LAX tomorrow. It's so pricey.
Don't do Waymo, please.
I'd do Waymo.
Okay, so the day before I got the Waymo car trip,
yeah.
The day before this, there was a Waymo. I was crossing the street and there was a Waymo car blinking like he's gonna turn right to my lane. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna walk a little faster so he doesn't hit me because I've seen some scary images. But he's not using the blinker to get through the intersection. No. He drives into incoming traffic to then go into a parking lot. And I was like, you're gonna kill some passengers. You're going into incoming traffic. But he got away scot-free. So maybe the AI really is smart. So
Okay. Well, anyway, quick shout out because I haven't had a chance to for a little bit. Thank you to Leo the Chosen, Ray Lim, Don Nardo, Gaiden TV, Gaiden for 69 months. Nice. Immortal Scrub for 2 years, Bowen with the 500 bits, Avura with the 62 months, Bob and George gifted a membership over on YouTube, and Sarles, hope I'm saying that right, is a member for 16 months. 504 Caesar with the $20 super chat. Thank you everybody for the help. Really do appreciate it. Let's do a round of shout outs here at the end of the show. Cubby, what do you want to shout out and plug?
Not much this week. I had fun joining your Magic group yesterday, Travis, making one of my rare appearances. So appreciate you in that group. Always meet a lot of fun people there. And yeah, shout out to anyone that's tuning in while it's still a lot of downtime in the league space and watching Hotline League. And yeah, no, thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Raz, what do you want to shout and plug?
shout out to Waymo, giving me great content. Shout out to you guys. Love you. Every time I watch the show and I'm just shit talking in Twitch chat or YouTube chat. Sometimes I mix it up. You know, it's always fun. The topics are always good, so I always enjoy it.
Yeah. I'm glad you were able to come on. I know you'd been begging me, and at Friendsgiving you showed up just to try to get me on, so I'm glad we were able to make this work. I'm going to be at Dragonsteel Nexus this week on Thursday and Friday. Come see my panels. They should be pretty cool. Doing one on monetizing content, and then I'm moderating one on building RPG worlds. So that'll be cool. And then after you're done seeing me in Salt Lake City at Dragonsteel Nexus, fly to Houston and see me at the Laughing Dragon event. We can play Magic the Gathering. It'll be fun. Go do that. And then when you're done with that, tune into Hotline League on Monday, because it'll be Monday and you'll need to tune into Hotline League. Thanks so much to everybody who watched. Really appreciate it. Hope you all had a wonderful holiday break and that you're staying warm in these cold environments of December. Tomorrow it's going to get down to 68 degrees here in Los Angeles. So I'm really hoping we can make it through this. Anyway, see y'all next week.